Phil Collins, here we are, 3/4 of the way through the Both Sides tour. How do you do it, and why do you do it? It's certainly not for the money.
Isn't it? Are we only 3/4 of the way through? I thought we were farther along than that. You do it out of habit, you know. This is what you do, it's what I do with my life, you know. I'm a musician, so I write music and I go and play it to people. I enjoy it. I mean, I've only ever been out once every 4 years, 5 years, because it's been leapfrogging the Genesis project. So it's really good fun for me to go out there. I'd like to make it more regular, as opposed to saying goodbye to the guys in the band and say I'll see you in 4 or 5 years' time. You know, especially at my age, it's dangerous.
So tell me about the band. How do you get a band together for something as mammoth as this?
Well, I ring around my friends, really. I mean, it's quite like that. I mean, this tour, because the album was so different, the album I still think is my best record. It didn't do as commercially well as any of the other records I've made, and I wanted to make some changes. I thought it was time to make some changes because there was nothing wrong with the people I had at all, by any means. I mean, they were wonderful musicians and great friends. But the point is that if you don't change, then nothing will. No one else is going to change it for you. So I thought I'd change a rhythm section, and Nathan East became available because Eric Clapton was changing his group. And then I thought, okay, Ricky Lawson had made him known that he wanted to play with me at some point. And our saxophone player, unfortunately, Don Myrick, who has been playing with me ever since the beginning, he got shot in Los Angeles over a year ago by police in a raid on his house. This was the time of the Rodney King trials, you know, so not a lot was made of it. But anyway, poor Don got shot, died, and the horn section kind of fell apart. And so there were various reasons why that there were new faces in the band. So sometimes it's a bit of a risk, but most of the time you kind of know what you're doing.
It's an interesting set. To be quite frank, the best way to describe it is a bit of a dump. Was that your idea?
It's a load of rubbish, really like the music, you know. I thought I'd get it in before somebody else did. The feel of Both Sides to me was very bleak, very sad, very desolate. And it reminded me of West Side Story. I mean, I quote West Side Story in a couple of the lyrics. And I just thought, how can I get the atmosphere of these songs across on a stage? If you have like a rock and roll stage set or something, you know, it's very hard to sort of get that same kind of atmosphere. And so I was imagining stairs, I was imagining fire escapes, you know, flashing hotel signs, you know, the kind of, you know, West Side Story. And I met a few designers, and one guy, American guy, the last person I met, who flew from Las Vegas to see me, and I thought, I can't do it. I can't bring the guy over because in 10 minutes I know whether I'm going to like it or not. And yet he's going to fly 10 hours. And I'm glad I did, because he came over with this idea of all this metal work. I added my ideas to his ideas, and we came up with the set. Because this way we theatrically light the thing, and you are focused, you are pulled to a point in the stage because the lights, you know, it's a theatrical show, really. And it's, you know, a show in 2 halves. The intermission, we've got an intermission for the first time ever. I've never done that before. And I've always seen the first half of the show as like being in black and white, and the second half has been in colour. You know, the second half is the party, it's the up songs, it's the You Can't Hurry Love, Two Hearts, Susudio, Missed Again, Easy Lover, sort of pizzazz, you know. And the first half is a lot darker, the more sadder songs and the smaller group. So, you know, I've given it a lot of thought. I mean, it's obviously developed over the tour, but that was why we chose a lot of our rubbish.
With playing the greatest hits, do you long to kind of shut yourself away and write some new stuff, or are you able to do that on tour?
Yes, actually I've done quite a lot of writing on this tour. I've got this little keyboard in the room, and the feel of what I've been writing is very different from anything I've done before. I mean, it's very up, which will cheer a lot of people up, I'm sure. It's a very happy music, and I've been writing a lot of that, which probably is reflected in my, you know, personal life.
How different is it touring as a solo artist as opposed to touring with Genesis?
Well, I feel totally responsible, you know, and I like that responsibility. I like going on stage and playing my music and saying, this is me, and if you don't like it, it's fine, you know, you shouldn't have come, you know. Which is, I get aggravated with journalists and reviewers who come, you know, they know they're not going to like it, and the people that send them know they're not going to like it because they're not fans of mine, they don't like the music, and yet they write a review, you know. Whereas with Genesis, I sometimes feel like a bit of an actor. I like singing other people's songs, but it's just a compromise, you know, like in a band, maybe, you know, you have to play songs that maybe you don't feel so close to because somebody else wants to play them. That's the way it is in life. The older I get, the more I'm reluctant to compromise.
You performed at the Prince's Trust concert last week. A couple of weeks ago, you also received a medal. What is your duty to the Prince's Trust?
I'm a trustee. I got involved about 83, and Prince Charles invited me to become a trustee at that point because he saw I had a communication. The young kids in the audience, obviously, they liked me. I don't know if they still like me, but they did then. So that's my role, trustee, and the honour I got, which was from the Queen, was for services to charity. And what it is a Lieutenant of the Victorian Order.
So what do we call you?
Lieutenant.
All right, Lieutenant.
You can call me Phil if you want. I don't mind.
So you said you've been writing. Does that mean we're going to get another solo album?
Well, it does mean that, but I don't know when. With everything that's been going on with my life, I'm quite happy to do nothing. I'm going to be at home in my little house, writing my music, and eventually I'll record it. At the moment, I mean, as I say, life has been a little bit complicated, and with being on tour as well, I just figure, sit back and take stock of what I should do next, So I don't know, but I think the world needs a bit of a rest from Phil Collins. I always feel this. I think people get a bit... I'm omnipresent, Every Christmas there's been something for the last 5 years. This Christmas there's no Phil Collins album. Everybody be pleased to hear.
With Buster, unfortunately Buster Edwards died recently, but you were in the movie. Yeah.
I got to know him very well. And over the years since the film, we've stayed in touch. We've been to football matches together and, a few other things. I was very surprised and shocked when I found out that he'd committed suicide. I mean, because he was a very cheerful guy, very full of, a great personality. Now, I've come in for a bit of, criticism for saying that, because everybody thinks that if you've done something like that, then that is what you are, and there's no way you can wipe the slate clean. Buster said that he was bored stiff doing what he did because it wasn't as exciting as what he used to do. But the facts are that he came and gave himself up, went to prison, served his time, came out, and has been clean, And I called him a bit of a role model, and I think that considering that Prince's Trust work with young offenders, but he definitely was trying his best to be straight, and I was just very sad. I'm sad when anyone takes their life, but when you know the guy and he was a friend of mine. When I did the Buster stuff, I actually said, I reluctantly did that. Although those two records went to #1, Two Hearts and Groovy Kind of Love. Bit by bit, I got roped into that. If I'm going to act, which I'm going to do more of, I'd rather not do the music in a film that I'm acting in, and I want to stand or fall as an actor if I'm going to be in a film, not because of a couple of hit songs. What I find more interesting is actually writing the soundtrack. That's what I want to do. I've got loads of music, things that just don't develop into songs, but are really sort of nice and interesting and strong, romantic or dramatic or whatever. And I'd like to find a home for them.
About a year and a half ago, there was a lot of talk about the Three Bears, Danny DeVito, yourself and Bob Hoskins. So what has happened to that exactly?
Nobody liked the script when it arrived, Everyone sort of said, this isn't what we want. So we threw that out, and I approached a major director. I went to the Dorchester for tea with him, because he was staying there promoting a film, to give him the bait, to say, listen, we're three actors in search of a director, and in search of a script as well. And he said, well, there's only one person that can make that, and that's me. So he went away, got a pair of writers actually, that are now writing it. And I was in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago with DeVito and the director and the writers, and people are probably bored with hearing about the Three Bears. They probably think it's been out and they've missed it, actually. So, but no, it is going to happen. It is going to happen. Everybody's still fired up on it. DeVito's got his enthusiasm back for it because he was a bit lost. I've always been enthusiastic about it. The director certainly is. And Hoskins is waiting for a script, so we're all there waiting.
Your mum's got to be your biggest fan because she was the one that's kind of been so encouraging all the way along. Is she going to be at these concerts? Does she still come to see you?
Oh yeah, she goes every night.
Does she really?
Yeah, she goes every night. I don't say that.
You'll have to point her out to me.
Yeah, I think she wasn't quite happy about me when I went professional all those years ago, because she was getting calls from me as an actor, as a child actor. And I think she felt that I was going into the sort of the seedy world of rock and roll, as opposed to the West End stage, you know, or films. And of course, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Anyway, my dad didn't talk to me for a couple of weeks, and nor did my mum. But, you know, my dad died in '72, just as Genesis came back from our first very short trip to America. So he never really saw me actually get anywhere, you know. But my mum now, of course, you know, she's very proud, and she loves it, you know, she loves coming to the shows. I mean, I'm one of her kids as far as she's concerned, and she's very pleased to come and see, you know, what I'm doing.
The Both Sides tour goes well into 1995. I hate to remind you, and you've got to go back and do the second half, your colour bit, if you like.
Technically.
Thank you very much, Phil Collins.
Pleasure, pleasure.
I'm just making my way back to my seat because I don't want to miss the second half. 1FM with Phil Collins exclusively live at Wembley. On stage with Phil, as you heard him mention, some new faces. There's Amy Keys and Arnold McCullough on vocals. You've already heard their stunning voices on separate lives. I'm sure there'll be more from them. Nathan East on bass, Ricky Lawson on drums. Very difficult being a drummer, I would have thought, on someone's tour that is essentially a very, very good drummer. Daryl Sturmer on guitar, Brad Cole on keyboards, and as this is going to be the glorious Technicolor bit, I do suspect there's going to be a brass section, and I've checked out the programme, and it does look like there are a couple of trumpet players, a saxophone player and a trombonist, and they are Harry Kim, Andrew Woolfolk, David Bonero and Arturo Velasco. And the last few people are sitting down now. The lights have gone down. Technicians are making their way up the stairs. And the keyboard player is at his seat.